Because right now, as we speak, some very prominent, very high-profile people, lifelong Democrats, people who built their entire careers in the Democrat Party, are walking out the door. Not reluctantly, not quietly, but loudly, publicly, and with devastating explanations for why they're leaving. And it's not just the big names.
I'm fine with defecting. I'm fine with people moving and changing their minds about their political leanings. But make sure you leave all that previous stuff. Like maybe we need a little detox time. Maybe we need a little bit of time to cool your heels before you run out of here and be like, oh, I'm voting this way now, because I don't know if you really believe that yet.
This is Pennsylvania Supreme Court Justice JWhit. He just announced that he is leaving the Democrat Party effective yesterday, May 11th, citing his concern over the growing anti-Semitism within the party's mainstream.
Grace and peace, everybody. We're back. You saw the thumbnail, you saw the title, so let's get at it. The church that we know proper started in the book of Acts. And one of the things about the church was they were very comfortable when they first started. They're very comfortable. They were loving being right there in Jerusalem, worshiping and praying and being right there in Jerusalem. The problem was they were commanded to go and spread the gospel everywhere. So what did God do? God used persecution to spread the gospel out. And of course, we know this as being the Roman roads took advantage. They took advantage of the fact that Roman built these wonderful roads and just follow the Roman roads all over the place. And that's how you and I, those who are believers, have the gospel today. I want to propose something to you that we need to be mindful of a modern day example of spreading a quote unquote gospel or quote unquote missionaries being persecuted and spread out. We're going to look at what Professor Turley is going to speak about. I want to bring that video in very quickly, but I want to talk to you about real quick. Think about what's happening in the blue states and blue cities particularly. So let's use New York as our example. New York is so bad now that they've taxed these people to such a degree that people are leaving from New York going to red states, which probably is fine. Red states are rolling out the red carpet saying, welcome, come on, bring your businesses, bring all of that here. We will gladly support you. Like, for example, Tennessee, they've absorbed almost all of Starbucks. Starbucks is leaving Seattle in a minute. They're going to be gone. They'll be in Tennessee soon. But, and we see this all in New York. So many companies have left New York and have gone to red states. But the problem is, this is the problem. Did they leave their blue state ideology and their blue state voting at the border? That's what we got to find out. That's what we need to know. Did they leave that stuff there, or did they bring it with them to Florida, to Tennessee, to Georgia, to Texas, to wherever else they're going? They're fleeing from. Are they taking their false and phony gospel of some kind of EBT Republican gospel to those red states? And then also, let's look at those new candidates that we're going to see. We're going to see a lot of new candidates popping up and materializing in these states. Are these real Republicans, real conservatives, or are they just EBT Republicans? Are they just conservative in name only? Like we're going to have to do some vetting and checking them out because, hey, the big tent, we got the big tent, but you got to take them shoes off. You can't bring all that mud from your blue state or your blue city under our big tent. You can't do that. Got to leave that stuff there. Leave your voting and leave your ideology. So let's bring this in. Let's see what Professor Turley is saying. And let me know what you think.
Something's happening in America that has the legacy media in an absolute panic. Something that doesn't show up in their cherry-picked polls. Something that doesn't get covered on their embarrassing primetime shows. And frankly, they're praying you never find out about it. Because right now, as we speak, some very prominent, very high-profile people, lifelong Democrats, people who built their entire careers in the Democrat Party, are walking out the door. Not reluctantly, not quietly, but loudly, publicly, and with devastating explanations for why they're leaving. And it's not just the big names. Underneath those headline-grabbing defections, there's a data story unfolding in state after state that is absolutely staggering. A story written not in opinion polls or pundit hot takes, but in the cold, hard, undeniable math of voter registration rules. The numbers don't lie. and what they're telling us about the future of the Democrat Party and what it means for the 2026 midterms are absolutely devastating for the political left. Wait until you see this. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, celebrating yet another glorious day in the Trumpian golden age that you made possible back in November of 2024. So if you want a front row seat on how you continue to change the world in ways you never even imagined, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Also, if you're not already on my Patriot Alerts list, you're missing half the story. It's my free daily newsletter, uncensored news and analysis sent straight to your inbox every morning. One scan of that QR code below and you're signed up. It's just going to take 30 seconds. You'll love it. All right, let's dive right in here, gang. Let's start with the latest defections. I love the sound of liberal tears in the morning, and ever since that Virginia Supreme Court struck their pathetic and desperate gerrymandering scheme down, Democrats have been weeping and gnashing their teeth. They sound like Gollum, just screaming in agony. They're in total desperation, seeing the midterms slip through their fingers. And now we're seeing more and more Democrats defect. The latest.
Okay, I'm fine with defecting. I'm fine with people moving and changing their minds about their political leanings, but make sure you leave all that previous stuff. Like maybe we need a little detox time. Maybe we need a little bit of time to cool your heels before you run out of here and be like, oh, I'm voting this way now, because I don't know if you really believe that yet.
This is Pennsylvania Supreme Court Justice JWhit. He just announced that he is leaving the Democrat Party effective yesterday, May 11th, citing his concern over the growing anti-Semitism within the party's mainstream. He specifically singled out Maine's likely Democrat Senate nominee Graham Plattner, who revealed last October that he had a literal Nazi symbol tattooed on his body. Wecht accused the Democrat Party of minimizing and even coddling anti-Semitic acts, stating it had fundamentally changed from the party he once knew and represented. And Wecht is not alone. Many of you have seen Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz. He has also left the Democrat Party. He's officially become a Republican. He wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal stressing a theme that many former Democrats have stated repeatedly, that his own views have not changed. Rather, it's the Democrat Party that's left him, right? Echoing Ronald Reagan's famous formulation. He explained that his lifelong Democrat identity was rooted in Kennedy and Clinton-era centrism, a party that championed due process, free speech, civil liberties, which he says obviously now no longer describes today's Democrat Party taken over by radical left-wing lunatics. And again, for Dershowitz, the final breaking point was what he described as the party's embrace of virulent anti-Semitism, citing polling showing 70% of Democrats preferring Palestinians, which he equated with Hamas and Hezbollah, over democratic Israel, as evidence the party is really just fundamentally transformed. Again, he didn't leave the party as much as the party left him. Now,
So this is why I'm saying I think we might need to be careful of this type of movement, because again, I have no problem with the reasons why these men have chosen to leave the Democrat Party. It's just, it is odd to me that most of their concerns are, again, 9 time zones away. What about here in the United States that you really don't rock with? What are their positions here in the States that you don't agree with? Because if they roll up next week talking about we got to roll out some kind of a homeless program, if they roll up some week and say, hey, we got to come up with a universal fair income or something of that nature, are you going, where are you going to land? That's what we need to find out.
Talked about this on a number of occasions on this channel, but these defections from the Democrats is actually part of a growing pattern. For every one Republican who defects and becomes a Democrat, 4 Democrats defect and become a Republican. It's a completely disproportionate ratio.
I've seen it.
Democrats switching to Republicans outnumber the other way around 4-1. It's absolutely incredible. And what that means, bottom line, is that the Democrat Party is literally disappearing. Slowly but surely, it's not just shrinking, it's eviscerating. This party defection is happening en masse, with the unprecedented number of blue state residents picking up and leaving their respective blue states for red states.
But I got to know that not only do they leave their blue states, but they leave their blue state politics there in those blue states. Are they voting red state? Or are they just trying to find somewhere where they can raise their kids without, crazy taxes or whatever that nature? Are they leaving that stuff at the border? That's what we got to make sure of.
Case in point, the New York Post reported that New York City may lose upwards of $12 billion in GDP from businesses fleeing the city to escape Mamdani's wealth and business taxes. $12 billion. That's why Texas and Florida and Tennessee and North and South Carolina are absolutely booming, while blue states like New York and California are teetering on the edge of total bankruptcy. The Democrat Party is literally imploding, all the while the Republican Party is thriving and surging. And we could see it not just in this 4-to-1 defection discrepancy or the mass migration out of blue states that's ultimately going to cost those blue states upwards of 12 to 16 electoral votes and congressional seats, according to the 2030 reapportionment. We're seeing it more and more as well in the voter registration trends. And the key here is that voter registration trends are one of the single most accurate predictive indicators for election results. So if you want to know what's going to happen in the upcoming midterms, don't so much pay attention to polls, pay attention to voter registration trends. And if you're a Democrat, these trends are the most horrifying numbers you have ever seen. Election analyst Seth Keshel, who's recently caught the eye of Newt Gingrich. He's a good friend to this channel. He's been crunching the latest voter registration numbers, and they're absolutely astonishing. You can check out his Substack at Captain K's Corner. It's excellent election analysis. But one of the key states that Seth keeps a very close eye on is the state of Florida. And for good reason, because Florida is a bit of a bellwether. Since 1952, wherever Florida goes, Pennsylvania and Michigan go. So Florida, Pennsylvania, and Michigan almost always move together, like last year's when Florida's obvious Republican surge had working class coattails in the Midwest, or I should say last November of 2024. When where Florida goes, Pennsylvania and Michigan are sure to follow. And the Republicans in Florida are absolutely freaking crushing it. Florida is, for all practical purposes, the emerging GOP superstate. Florida continues to cement its identity as the most structurally dominant Republican state outside the Deep South. They've gone from a 7.8% Republican registration advantage in November 2024 to now an astonishing 11.2% Republican advantage. Florida's becoming more red than Texas. It's absolutely insane. Florida has 67 counties. Only 8 of those 67 counties still have a Democrat majority registration. 8 of 67.
And hear me again. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I just really want to make sure that they left those new voters, those new voter registrars that have come in, that they've left that New York politics, they left that Illinois politics, they left that Michigan politics at the border. That's all I care about. I'm looking forward to it, though. I'm hoping that this is exactly as Professor Turley says. I'm right there with them, but we got to be mindful of that.
Remember, just to put this in context, Florida voted for Obama twice, as did Ohio, as did Pennsylvania and Michigan. The shift rightward over these last 10 years has been utterly breathtaking. Now, another key state that Seth keeps close tabs on is Iowa. And that's because it's a bellwether for Wisconsin, and an important one because Wisconsin doesn't track voter registration by party, so we can't see this voter registration surge. But we see it by virtue of what's happening in Iowa. In 2024, Iowa went way to the right for Trump by double digits, to the everlasting humiliation of the once reputable pollster Ann Seltzer, who claimed that Kamala Harris was going to win Iowa by 3 points. Wow. Every single county in Iowa had shifted to the right. What are they, 91 counties or so? Every single county shifted to the right. And yet Ann Seltzer said Kamala Harris was going to win. She lost by double digits. And that shift to the right pulled Wisconsin in that direction as well, giving Trump another win from Wisconsin. But Iowa has only gotten more red since. The GOP had a 10.3% voter registration advantage in November 2024. They now have an 11.1% voter registration advantage. Democrats have lost over 11,000 active registrations in just the past 16 months alone, and they now even trail independent voters in all 4 congressional Iowa districts, placing them effectively in 3rd place statewide, which is good news for where Wisconsin is moving, since Iowa tends to be a bellwether for how Wisconsin votes. Take a look at the Keystone State, Pennsylvania. No Republican presidential candidate has won the national election without winning Pennsylvania. They've gone from a Democrat voter registration advantage of 3.1% in 2024 to now just 2.1%. In terms of active voters, the advantage is shrinking even more. Democrats have gone from a 1.6% voter registration advantage now to just 0.7%. Analysts project that Pennsylvania will indeed be a red state in a matter of mere months. The two key counties in Pennsylvania are Erie County and Northampton County. Those are the two ones you always keep an eye on to understand where the state is going as a whole. Those are the classic bellwether counties for Pennsylvania. So he who wins Erie and Northampton almost always wins Pennsylvania. And they have been trending right for months now. And we could keep going and going. North Carolina has turned red for the very first time in its history. Democrats had a 1.3% voter registration advantage in November 2024. Now it's the Republicans who have a 0.1% advantage. Again, that's the first time in the history of the state that the Republicans have taken the lead in party identification. Arizona has gone from a 6.8% Republican voter ID advantage in November 2024 to now a 7.4% advantage. And Nevada, like North Carolina, has also flipped since November, going from a 0.5% Democrat voter ID advantage to now a 0.3% Republican advantage. If these voter registration trends continue, together with the structural realignment we're seeing with all the Republican redistricting, the GOP will be in very, very good position for the midterms. Again, I'm always going to remind you this, right? We're optimistic, but we are realists as well. Midterms historically suck for the party in power. There have only been 3 exceptions in the past century where the party in power did not lose seats by the dozens. Only 3 exceptions. But that said, it does look as if the conditions are indeed being set for the GOP to pull off yet another exception. That's what we're going to be keeping our eye on from now on.
Shout out to Professor Turley. The link is down in the description so you can check out that full video. I just cut off the end of it. He was closing out. But I do want to say, like, I'm not black-pilled. I'm not, woe is me. The sky is falling. Nothing is ever great. All I'm saying, and all I want you to take from this, is that we must be mindful and make sure that the candidates that we're voting for and the people that we are welcoming into our states and the such of that nature here in Georgia, as we're welcoming these people in, let's make sure that they have left their blue state shenanigans and all the stuff that caused them to leave from their blue state at the border. Welcome, but leave that stuff at the door. Leave that stuff at the border. Come on and enjoy a red wave. What do you think? Comment down below. Give me your 2 cents. I really do appreciate it. I want to hear what you think about that. Do you agree with me? Do you think that, no, there's nothing we need to worry about? If they left the state, they're going to vote right. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know. Thank you so much for liking the video and commenting. Thank you so very much for hyping up this video and for helping us move just that much closer to hitting 150,000 likes this month. I'm looking forward to celebrating with y'all. So until next time, everybody, grace and peace. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the JWhit Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.